Good evening, you're watching No Spin. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Well, the big story politically continues to be Rahul Gandhi's interrogation by the Enforcement Directorate. He has in fact just left the ED headquarters in Delhi and been summoned again for questioning for the fourth day on Friday. Reports say that he had in fact asked for a break tomorrow, which is why the ED has pushed the day to Friday instead of Thursday itself. Now today, as Rahul Gandhi was questioned on day 3, once again Congress leaders were out protesting on the streets of Delhi, and once again the police was trying to stop them. There were chaotic scenes today, which we'll just play out for you, of Congress workers being dragged and manhandled by police personnel. At one point, the police also entered the Congress party headquarters, and there was complete chaos there. That ensued, the Congress objecting to the fact that the police had entered their party headquarters today. Many leaders were dragged, like I said. They were taken to different police stations. Congress leader Dipinder Hooda tweeted that his home had been sealed off and he wasn't even allowed to leave his residence today. So clearly, it's a massive political battle that is playing out both on the streets as well as, of course, in the offices of the Enforcement Directorate. Sachin Pilot joining us live on the program this evening. Sachin Pilot, one of those leaders today who was detained when he tried to enter the Congress office of all places. Sachin, crazy scenes there today. On what basis were you not allowed entry into the party office of all places?
I don't know. This is for the first time that we were not allowed to go to our own party headquarters. Apparently there was 144 imposed, but no one was told, no one has been informed. The fact is that the police and the government have acted in a way. We were all bundled in a bus, and I'm still sitting at Narela police station. We were detained, some MPs, some MLAs. But the kind of brute force used today inside the premises of our office is something we've never seen. So one is to have opposition parties, you disregard them or you don't give them permissions. The other is that you use blatant force. And, the Delhi police, I think, has gone overboard by hurting. There were women MPs whose clothes were torn. So I don't think this is a healthy sign for democracy. And we as a political party are within our rights to oppose what we think is undue influence on agencies to rake up issues, to tarnish the image of our leadership in the Congress. So I think this is something that should concern every citizen. It's not just about this incident or about one party. It's about how the agencies are being under influence of the ruling dispensation. And I used to give a message that if you oppose us, your voice will be muzzled. And no matter who you are, you will be taken to task, and the full wrath of the government of India will fall upon you.
So you're still at the police station. You're still you're technically still detained while you're speaking to us.
Well, they've been very gracious by allowing me to use my phone, but I'm still at the police station, yes.
And any idea when you'll go home? Because Rahul Gandhi's left the ED now, so maybe now they'll let you all go home.
I don't know. We don't get told very much. We just put in a bus and unknown destination, finally reached Narela, which is some border police station near Haryana. But we are here, and I see the thing is, today when the police entered the premises of the Congress party, it kind of crossed a Rubicon, because this has not been, something that's never happened before. And you can oppose a party, you can disagree, and we want a healthy debate. We were asking for a Gandhian non-violent satyagraha, peaceful march, which was denied. People are detained, people under house arrest, brutalized. Senior people in the Congress party, they were physically assaulted. Women MP whose clothes were torn. A youth Congress president was kicked in the video footage that we have all seen. So this sort of a behavior on leadership, people who are elected, MLAs, MPs, ministers, responsible people being treated that way is not nice. And I think violence, of course, I believe no one should take law into their own hands. But the same rule must apply to the police and the government also. They must act with sincerity and transparency.
Sachin, what do you all make of the fact that Rahul Gandhi has now been summoned for the fourth day? I mean, we've seen opposition leaders being summoned by the ED from time to time, and it's maybe a day, a couple of days, but now this is going to be day 4 on Friday. What do you make of that?
I'm also quite concerned about these selective leaks that are coming out, that ED asked certain questions and this was answered, this was not answered. I wonder who's doing those selective leaks. I'm not sure how this will play out. What I can say is that we think that the agencies are under pressure. We will oppose them. And my view is that no matter how many times they call anyone, the truth shall prevail. We are not afraid of any investigation. But the manner in which every political party who's opposed to the BJP is taken to task. For 7-8 years, no BJP person ever has had a raid or a CBI inquiry or income tax inquisition or ED. So the data suggests that it's certainly bipartisan. And there is no FIR in this case. There is no misappropriation. It's just a 7-year-old case being picked up because election to the president is coming, election to many state assemblies are coming. So this has become quite a cyclical but expected thing. But it's not a healthy sign for a republic how agencies are being blatantly told what to do. And we as the Congress party will continue to say our piece. We will not bow down. We'll act peacefully, but make sure our voice is heard.
In a way, has this re-energized the party? Which has been struggling with all kinds of issues. Has this kind of rallied everyone around?
I think we've all been united, but this is far more important than one incident, one leader, and one party. India is a very strong country. 75 years of all our collective efforts have made our institutions strong. If the institutions become weak and they bow down to political pressure, it's not a healthy sign for the future of our democracy. So the party is united. We're all on the street, and I believe anyone who has had any violence that has taken place, I don't approve of that. I don't approve of the foul language that may have been spoken. But the Delhi police and the brutality that it is unleashed on the leadership of the Congress party certainly must be taken to task, and there must be answers sought from people who have allowed this to happen, and action must be taken. This is criminal trespassing. You can't enter a party office, have a lathi charge, pick up people, beat up journalists, beat up our leadership. That's something that the whole world is watching, and it makes me very sad when I think that this is happening in the national capital.
Well, let's hope you get out of detention as well soon. Sachin Pilot, thanks very much for joining us there. Sachin Pilot talking to us from a police station in Delhi, where he's been detained now all day while he was trying to enter the party office. He still doesn't know why that was the case. Well, moving on to the other big story today, the opposition led by Mamata Banerjee held its first meeting on the presidential elections to discuss the possible candidates for the presidential race. In fact, the election is supposed to be on the 18th of July, just about a month from now, with results on the 21st. Immediately when that meeting began, Mamata Banerjee proposed the name of Sharad Pawar, the NCP chief, but he, while did get support of other parties as well, he declined, saying that he still had quite a long political innings to play. Once Sharad Pawar's name was out of the way, however, we understand that there were really no other names that came up until the very end, when Mamata Banerjee then spoke about the possibility of former Governor Gopal Gandhi and National Conference President Farooq Abdullah as being possible candidates. Now, these opposition parties have decided to meet again next week to discuss these names further. At the same time, though, as far as Mamata's efforts to bring the opposition together were concerned, the TRS, which is an important opposition party now that's been taking on the BJP, they stayed away from this meeting because the Congress was there. They want to be equidistant from the BJP and the Congress. The Aam Aadmi party stayed away from it as well. And then you've got the fence sitters like Naveen Patnaik's BJD and the YSR Congress that have generally helped the NDA in the past. They didn't come. The Shiromani Akali Dal didn't come again, citing the presence of the Congress. So opposition not looking entirely united as far as this meeting was concerned. Meanwhile, the NDA, led by Rajnath Singh, has reached out to the opposition as well to possibly look for a consensus candidate for president. So Rajnath Singh spoke to Mamata Banerjee and Mallikarjun Kharge of the Congress on the phone, as well as Akhilesh Yadav this evening, to see whether a consensus candidate would come up. But what does this say about the state of the opposition and the state of the opposition's unity? We've got Kakoli Ghosh Dastadar, Member of Parliament from the Trinamool Congress, Priyanka Chopra, Member of Parliament from the Shiv Sena, Ravula Sridhar Reddy from the TRS is joining us, and Mr. PKD Nambiar, supporter of the BJP, political analyst, always the brave voice speaking in their support. Thanks very much to all of you for joining us. Kakoli Ghosh Dastadar, how would you say that the meeting has gone off today, considering that key opposition players were absent? Did that take some of the shine away from the effort that Mamata Banerjee was trying to make?
I don't agree with you when you say that the key players were absent. This is the first effort. This is the first effort, the nascent effort taken by Mamata Banerjee in getting together the opposition, and reached out to many senior leaders of different political parties. She's reached out to various chief ministers, and as far as we are concerned, we're quite happy with the meeting, because many people did come, including the left and the Congress and other political parties. Yes, you are right in a sense that one or two parties were not there, but people might be having their own preoccupations. So we are hoping that in the next meeting, everybody will get together in the opposition to come to a consensus regarding a single candidate from the opposition.
But how are you going to convince the TRS, which actually issued a very strong statement today saying that it's not going to share a platform with the Congress. Are you confident that you could even get them to come to the next meeting?
Yeah, so the question is that if they are not going to share a platform with the Congress, then are they ready to share the platform with the NDA or the Bharatiya Janata Party? That is the question. And if they are, then what is behind that decision? Because, you see, to save this country, to save the secular fabric of the country laid by our forefathers, the opposition, which controls more votes than the Bharatiya Janata Party, as far as MLAs are concerned, we will have to get together. It is not for an individual.
Okay, let me take that to Mr. Reddy of the TRS, that in a sense what the TMC is saying is that you have a choice. This is not about sharing a stage with the Congress or not sharing a stage. It's about whether or not you will end up helping the BJP instead. Mr. Reddy.
No, is it necessary? I would like to ask a question. Is it necessary either to take the side of BJP or Congress? Is it must in this country? Can't you have a different choice?
For the presidential election, yes, because the numbers then don't add up, no?
How can somebody dictate this? My question is, we made it very clear even in the past, even today I am making it very clear, we are not going to share any platform with Congress party because Congress party failed as an opposition. They failed in, bringing up or exposing the wrongdoings of BJP in the country. Having Congress as a main constituent in the meeting, how can you show a difference? How can you bring in a difference?
But then how would the numbers add up for the opposition, Mr. Reddy, if the Congress wasn't there?
Come again?
How would the numbers for the presidential election add up for the opposition if you kept out the Congress?
Nidhi, we are clear. We are in no hurry to make a decision in haste. We have time. We have enough time to deliberate on this issue. We'll have wider consultations with various political parties, various constituents. Okay, the way the meeting is convened, the general practice was to have prior consultations with the political parties in the opposition. Then they go for a consensus candidate. Then, yes, you go and convince them. Those practices will be generally, taken care of in the past.
Okay, so you had an issue with the way Mamata Banerjee
No. I'm telling you, the way the meeting is convened. But here, I made it very clear we are not interested to participate in any platform with Congress, either with Bharatiya Janata Party. We maintain equal distance with both the political parties, and we, as TRS party, would like to put forth a strong alternative agenda before the nation in very short notice. And both the parties have failed this nation. They failed as in governance, they failed as opposition parties also, even in the past.
So let me ask Priyanka Chopra, the fact is that in the past, these efforts to have alternative fronts without the Congress, without the BJP haven't really taken off. KCR tried it before as well, it didn't work. What is therefore the messaging that goes out when the opposition looks so disunited, not just before a presidential election, but with just barely a couple of years left for a general election?
So firstly, I'd like to begin with 17 opposition political parties coming together on the same platform and passing a joint resolution that we will have a united presidential candidate, joint opposition candidate. I do not see this as a disunity. 4 political parties choosing to stay out, whose main opponents is the Bharatiya Janata Party, is something that we are very hopeful that they would realize that the responsibility is not the turf wars that they are fighting. The bigger responsibility is towards ensuring the democratic and constitutional ethos of this country is not eroded every single day. We have seen, whether it is West Bengal, whether it is Tamil Nadu, whether it is Maharashtra, how Bharatiya Janata Party misuses its various central agencies to build pressure upon them. Our responsibility is to push back that agenda. I'm very certain TRS also would sooner or later realize that the bigger problem is how constitutional norms are being thwarted. And today it could be our state governments, tomorrow it could be the TRS, day after it could be the YSRCP. And I'm very certain that they all understand the challenges here. They may not want to share the same platform.
It's an interesting point you've raised, and Mr. PKD Nambiar, that in a sense, with the way things are playing out, with the use of central agencies against the opposition, could that become a rallying point to eventually bring them together, the opposition? Could that actually work against the BJP?
That has actually not worked, Nidhi, if you really look at it. If that is the reason that a couple of these mainstream other leaders were not present today. But my compliments to Mamata Banerjee. At least she could get these 17 parties together, at least sit together as an opposition. I believe that a strong opposition is very well needed in this country. There is no doubt. irrespective of whatever alliance of one have it's in the interest of our democracy. But the problem is the vulnerability of Congress. Just look at that in the 2017, if you really recall the presidential polls last time and this time, there is a huge difference. This time, Mamata Banerjee is taking the initiative and Congress joining in it. Despite the fact that Congress still is the largest party which has got the maximum vote within the opposition side. Secondly, that the 2017 to now there is another change. The Aam Aadmi Party is also equal when it comes to the number of chief ministers, whether it is compared to
Actually,
Congress.
it's the only regional party with a chief minister in 2 states. Yes.
2 states. I think the equation of 2017 and 2022 has completely changed. But Congress becoming further vulnerable to be a B or a C team, even in this large opposition group, clearly gives a feeling that it is not going to be a long-lasting one.
You don't think that the action by agencies like the ED, etc., could actually become a rallying point eventually? It could bring the opposition together?
See, I think I would say this will be very temporary. I'll tell you that there may be people who do go through the crisis because the ED crisis or a CBI crisis. Everybody will have their own viewpoint, especially with the regional political parties do have their regional compulsion. Now, Shiv Sena beyond Maharashtra will not have any, their only objective is to hold on to the power in Maharashtra. So is Trinamool or in the KCR do not have any other agenda other than keeping both the national parties away. Comrade, look at in Kerala for an example, against the Pinarayi government, the Congress is fighting on the streets today. So I think it's
you're saying too many contradictions. Which is true.
Didi, I'll just give you one second. Few days ago, I happened to write a column in one of the leading national daily. My caption was this, that who will bell the cat? Now, the cat is fully ready, strong as it was, but the problem is that nobody knows that who is the one who will be able to go and bell the cat.
That's a good point about the contradictions. Kakoli Ghosh Dastadar, again it comes to the point that, today Mamata is trying to lead the charge, KCR wants to lead it as well. The Congress wants to lead it as well. Are there just too many conflicting sort of pulls and pressures within the opposition camp? Everybody wants to be the leader.
I do not agree because who has taken the first step? If you consider this fact, then it is Mamata Banerjee who has risen against this authoritarian regime, and she has contacted the different political parties in opposition. She has written to them. And she's also convened this meeting in which, thankfully, we are grateful to all the political parties who have come together. And maybe they have not reached a consensus as far as the candidate is concerned, but coming together and discussing and sitting together is a big thing for our democracy.
You're saying it's a beginning, but don't you need the TRS and the AAP to come on board to make this a meaningful process? At least these two parties.
You see, they will all think, I'm sure, if they want to be in opposition and truly oppose this regime, then I'm sure they will also join. It is only a matter of time when the discussion and discourse will take us there, where everybody will fight against the Bharatiya Janata Party's atrocious behavior in destruction of this country and the constitution. And they will fight together, they will come together, and we will be fighting, rising in one voice, fight against this.
Okay. Priyanka Chopra, you were there at this meeting today. Can you share with us, who the Shiv Sena would like to see contesting from the opposition's camp?
Like I said, it is a big, I would say it's a momentous occasion that 17 political parties have come together, have spoken in one voice, that everyone will arrive at a consensus for a presidential candidate, opposition joint candidate. Whether it was initiated by Mamata Banerjee, whether it was presided by Sharad Pawar, whether Congress joined it, chose to, be the B, C, D team, whatever Mr. Nambiar might want to call it, TRS staying away from it. The point here is, the larger point is that there is a consensus here. So there is no disunity. And this is perhaps
but
where
is it
we are
a meaningful process without Aam Aadmi Party,
I'll tell you why.
without the TRS?
Aam Aadmi Party and TRS, I must just quote Ramdhari Dinkar here, where he says that neutrality is not an option anymore. Those who want to be fence sitters, time will also right their crime. And the time is now. They will have to stand up for something. And standing up for India's integrity, India's unity in diversity, India's constitutional morality, India's democratic principles is the principal responsibility of all opposition parties, where you keep your turf wars aside and you stand in unity. When he said Shiv Sena stands for power, I said, no, we do not stand for power. We stand against such authoritarian regimes which want to push down their agenda across every state. We have shown that in Maharashtra, and if every political party, opposition party comes on board, we will prove that in the presidential election as well, and henceforth in 2024 as well.
Pretty strong words from you, Priyanka Chopra. You're saying this is not the time to be neutral. Mr. Reddy, that's for you, amongst others. The TRS can't be neutral on this. Equidistant, that time has gone. You need to take a stand.
See, that is their opinion. We have our own opinion. We strongly believe this is not a small thing. This is an important decision to be taken for a country's top constitutional post. We believe in wider consultations with various constituents. So definitely we will take a right decision at an appropriate time.
Yeah, but what will you do? Look, if there is an opposition candidate that at least 17 opposition parties are supporting and an NDA candidate, right? So who will the TRS vote for? I mean, ultimately in this presidential election, it comes down to that.
This is what I'm trying to say. There is no hurry now to immediately take a line. We will definitely deliver our opinion. We are definitely, I am repeating, we are equidistant to both the political parties, BJP and Congress. The issue here is we definitely want to have a best candidate for the country's presidential post. At the same time, we believe in wider consultation. That's what I'm trying to say. See,
so you don't rule out supporting the NDA candidate?
I would like to make a point here. One moment. I would like to make a point. Today in the meeting, leaving Mamata Banerjee and Sharad Pawar ji, you have only representatives of the various political parties. They cannot take decision there and then. Again, they have to go back to their top leadership and take the decision. So what is the meaning in this?
But what are you saying? Are you saying the TRS could even vote for the NDA's candidate for president?
No. Absolutely. I made it very clear number of times that we are equidistant with both political parties.
No, but what does that mean? When there is a presidential election, it's either this or that, no, A or B.
The presidential election is one of the very few things, one of the many things that we are going to face. We have a larger context to present to this nation. We are going
so that's
to
the crux of it.
A strong alternative to this nation, and we are going to present a strong plan for this nation to have a strong political force, alternative political force in a very short notice. Here the thing is that we are in no hurry. We will definitely take a right decision, and we will consult many people in this process. We'll have many options to come up. Let the things...
Priyanka Chopra, quick response from you on that. What does that tell you?
I think Mr. Reddy is also being very clear, and I think he's right in his way, his party, but they may not have been part of the meeting today, but they may come at a consensus where they understand that their responsibility is much larger. He's saying that he wants to have stakeholder consultation and come up with a candidate and take a decision. I think that's fair enough, but as long as they take a decision which safeguards, like I continue to say, the constitutional framework of this country.
The TRS is always for this, the country first, the country's development, country's constitutional morality, whatever you talk about. We are first to think about this. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right. Let's see what happens. There is another opposition meeting, I think, scheduled for the 20th or 21st of June, probably. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us on that important political story. We're out of time tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.